What's up, guys? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be taking a look at Ready Player One, directed by Steven Spielberg. Let's waste no time. Let's get into this. Overall, I really like Ready Player One. To me, this is a callback to all those classic Spielberg films, like an Indiana Jones, like an E.T. You know, it's fantasy sci-fi. It has that classic Spielberg whimsy to it. It's just a really fun, it's a very energetic movie. I like almost everything about this movie. I got my qualms with it here and there, but overall, I have nothing but very nice things to say about this thing. So let's break this down. Number one, the actors. I think everyone in this cast did a great job. I liked Ty Sheridan as Wade Watts, who was our lead guy. I think Ty Sheridan did a good job giving Wade that, you know, that naive innocence. I think he's a good lead in this movie, and seeing the world through his eyes, you really get a grand scope of the imagination that went into this world known as the Oasis. I like the look of the Oasis in general. It's very poppy, very bombastic, it's very colorful. And then the other side of the coin, you get the real world, which is just very dreary, very drab, almost very industrial-like. Everything's on top of everything, is very enclosed. You know, he lives in the stacks. That's what the movie calls it, and it's just a very uncomfortable place to live in. Everything's all close together and squished together. And then, like I said, in the contrast, then you got the contrast of the Oasis, which is just very open, very colorful, very like the place where you want to be. And so I like how the movie is able to separate these two worlds. It did a great job, and seeing it all through Wade's eyes, you really do get the sense of like wonderment with the Oasis and just the depressingness of the real world. Olivia Cooke is in this movie. She plays a character called Sam Cooke, whose avatar is Artemis. By the way, Percival is Wade's avatar in the Oasis. Thought I'd throw that out there. So we get Olivia Cooke, who plays Artemis, whose real name is Samantha in the real world. And I like Artemis. I think she's a cool character. She's a badass character. I like the relationship that develops between Artemis and Percival. To me, is very, very natural. At first, Artemis is very reluctant to get in there. Percival is so love-drunk that he makes a mistake by giving Artemis his real name, which sets off a chain of events that pretty much has this guy Sorrento hunting them down throughout the course of the entire movie. And I like Artemis's connection to, you know, Sorrento and his IOI corporation. Pretty much, Artemis's father, you know, was taken by IOI into this facility because her father was in debt, and no matter what he did, he couldn't pay off the debt until eventually he got sick and he died. Pretty much IOI, in her mind, killed her father. So I like that she has a personal vendetta against everyone. She's a more interesting character than Wade Watts. I'm gonna say just to say that. But I do like the chemistry between the two actors. I thought they played well off one another. Speaking of good chemistry between actors, Lena Whitey plays the character called Ace, who is Wade's best friend. And I like the chemistry between these two. They feel very natural friends. I buy them as being longtime friends. They have a natural chemistry together. And I like how in the real world, throughout the entire course of the movie, Wade thinks that it's a dude, but when you get to the real world, she's actually a girl. So I like all that stuff. I think that stuff is great. I like his other two friends known as Xiao and Daito. I thought those two guys were really cool as well. Especially Xiao, who we find out is an 11-year-old boy, and he's just has a lot of quirky one-liners once we see him in the real world. So that stuff is great. Speaking of the villain, like I mentioned earlier, Ben Mendelsohn plays a guy called Nolan Sorrento, who's the villain of the piece. And I like Ben Mendelsohn as an actor. Nolan Sorrento, he just wants to find this Easter egg for his own personal gain. There's nothing really to his character, but at least Mendelsohn, you know, is a good actor, and he gives him a charisma to it. He gives him a sly, swarmy charisma, so I'm okay with that. Mark Rylance, he plays the guy called James Halliday, who is the overall creator of the Oasis, along with his friend known as Og Morrow, played by Simon Pegg. James Halliday creates the Oasis, and he's dead by the start of the film, but he has this Easter egg planted within inside the Oasis, and you have to find these 3 keys in order to get the Easter egg. And once you get this Easter egg, you are given complete control of the Oasis. And whatever scenes we have with James Holiday that are peppered throughout the movie, Mark Rylance to me does a good job making James Holiday into a very likable guy. He's a very kooky, quirky type of guy, but you can tell he's a guy with a good heart, and I think Mark Rylance does a good job of making a guy who is dead at the start of the film, but you can understand why a lot of people admire and like this man. And I thought Rylance did a great job at translating that on screen. And like I said, Simon Pegg is also in this movie as Og Morrow, who is the co-creator of the Oasis along with James Holiday. And I like Simon Pegg in this movie. We don't see Simon Pegg until at the very end of this movie as his character Og Morrow, but inside the Oasis he plays his character called the Curator, and I thought that was actually a really nice touch. Okay, so like the music, so let's talk about the production side of it now. Overall production quality, this movie, like I said, the cinematography in this movie is beautiful. Janusz Krasinski, longtime Spielberg collaborator, does an excellent job at bringing this world to life. Like I said, the cinematography is very bombastic, it's beautiful, it's sleek, it looks crystal clear. Steven Spielberg as a director, what can you say about Spielberg as a director? He just knows how to create a fun, whimsical tone. Even when the movie goes into some dark elements, it doesn't go fully all the way dark. It still has that classic Spielberg whimsy to it, which I can appreciate, and that's why to me his movies always stand the test of time. I like the 3 challenges that the heroes have to go through. I like the first challenge, which is like a racetrack, in which you have to do the whole thing in reverse, because that's the clue. And I like how you have to go through the T-Rex, you gotta go through King Kong, and you get a bunch of references peppered throughout New York. That stuff is great. I love the Shining challenge. The Shining is one of my all-time favorite movies. So having a good chunk of the movie take place inside the Overlook Hotel, to me, I was like a kid in a candy store, because they recreated the Overlook spectacularly. It looks fantastic. I love it. And I like how they made The Shining look like a video game. You got the old woman in room 237 who's slashing away at you. You got Jack Torrance who's chasing you in the maze with an axe. And then you get the scene in the ballroom where you have to get the key, and you find Kira, who was supposed to be James Halliday's girlfriend, but he couldn't take the leap to make him his girlfriend, and she ended up with Simon Pegg's character. Whatever. That stuff is great too, and I also like the final challenge, which takes place on Planet Doom, and I like how that whole final challenge solely relies on one of the first games ever made for the Avatar, and you don't have to beat the game. You have to find the infamous very first Easter egg, which I thought was pretty cool in and of itself. So yeah, those are my positives. If I have any negatives with this thing, it's more or less I would have liked to have seen more of. We spend a lot of time in the Oasis, and we do spend some time in the real world, but we don't spend a whole lot of time in the real world. I would have liked to see more of a relationship between Wade and his Aunt Alice, who was pretty much his guardian, because at the start of the film, Wade's parents were already dead. He lives with his aunt and her abusive boyfriend. I would have liked to have seen more of that relationship. I don't think we got enough, which is why when the aunt is killed by Sorrento, I don't really feel like Wade even cares in a way. I mean, like, movie wants to pretend that he does care, but I don't know. The death seems very hollow to me, because they only had one scene together, and in that one scene, she was pretty much bitching him out. I'd have liked to have seen at least 2 more scenes that showed me the real relationship between the two, between Wade and his aunt. So to me, that's a big flaw, because to me it's a big flaw, because I would have liked to have seen. I would like to have more of a connection when that character ends up being killed off by Sorrento. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Ready Player One. Overall, I love this movie. This movie is so much fun. It's a new Spielberg classic. All the whimsical elements are in this movie. This movie is wall-to-wall covered in nostalgia, wall-to-wall covered in Easter eggs. You have Mortal Kombat Easter eggs, Batman Easter eggs. You get fucking Chucky. You get fucking Chucky. You get Michael. You get Jason and Freddy and everyone. So yeah, Ready Player One to me gets a solid 9 out of 10. It's a fun movie. I love it. And Spielberg does it again. Creates another classic that's going to be perfect in my Spielberg collection. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Ready Player One. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comment sections below. Also, let me know what your favorite Steven Spielberg movie is in the comment sections below as well. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.